Hello, hello, and welcome back to another podcast episode of Overpowering Emotions, where I talk all things big emotions, emotion regulation, self regulation. Everything I talk about really is self regulation. Even though I keep saying I'm talking about a little mini series on self regulation, everything relates to self regulation. But I am in this, I guess, sub mini series on the different functions of emotions. I have, over the past while, discussed things like the difference between emotion and feelings and understanding what's happening in our body and our body deficit and why knowing the function of emotions is important. And make sure you definitely look at why that's important, why we need to know the function of emotion. So check back on those episodes. Today, I'm focusing specifically on pleasant feelings, including pleasant feelings with high energy as well as those pleasant feelings with low energy. So let's say you've got a kiddo who's jumping up and down before a birthday party, or they're proudly showing off something that they built. They're experiencing this pleasant, high energy emotion. These emotions are really great for motivation, for creativity, for connection, learning, all of those types of things. It's really, I want to start with excitement because sometimes excitement can get us to too silliness, right? And then we get in trouble. But excitement, its function is to prepare the body and the brain for anticipated positive outcomes. So these are usually future focused. It prepares us for pursuing a goal. It increases our motivation, our energy, our engagement. It's fueling kids' action towards some desired goal or desired experience. So emotionally, excitement's really saying something great is about to happen. Get ready. And just that anticipation for something gives the brain this huge dopamine boost, right? And so just they don't even have to get there. Just that anticipation makes the brain feel so good. And that's why it's so helpful to get kids excited to boost their engagement and their motivation. Now, the needs underneath that could be expression, right? I need to express my excitement in a way that's not going to other kids if I'm grabbing them because I'm so excited, right? Or annoying my sibling, right? Now it's going to create a fight. And so we want to make sure how can we express that in a safe sort of way to release or share that high energy in a way that is adaptive. It could be preparation for something that we're excited for, planning. It could be some sort of structure just to channel that energy into action. Sometimes they really need containment because we know for some kiddos, even with those positive emotions, pleasant emotions, sorry, is better than positive, negative, pleasant, unpleasant. Sometimes they can get a little too big without direction. And so sometimes we need to make sure we're redirecting and helping them channel that energy. Because if we start seeing as adults disruption and we're perceiving those behaviors as a lack of self-control, we're going to miss the need here and that opportunity for engagement and connection. And so sometimes, again, it's just helping them channel that energy, or we're supporting them in regulating those overwhelming arousal, excitement feelings before it becomes unregulating. So we want to help them use that excitement, use that energy that they might be feeling for something like I said, planning together. Maybe we're going to create a countdown calendar. What can we do with this excitement? Maybe it is just letting them run it off, right? Maybe we can use excitement to fuel creativity. Maybe they're going to tell a story, talk about what they're looking forward to. Maybe they're going to make a drawing, or maybe they're going to, I don't know, just practice dropping into the body. I mean, I always go there too. It's always easier to practice into the body to help us keep our prefrontal cortex online, easier when we're experiencing pleasant emotions than when we're experiencing unpleasant emotions. So before any overwhelming events, maybe we're just doing some of those grounding exercises, checking in with their body, getting curious. Doing that really just helps sort of transform that emotional arousal into something productive, productive action or creativity. Joy is another pleasant, high energy emotion that signals the presence of pleasure, success, connection, well being in the present moment. It's really reinforcing behaviors that promote any sort of bonding, connection experiences, mastery over something that they're doing, or fulfillment. Emotionally, really, joy says, this feels good. Let's keep doing this. And so that's an important signal. So the needs here, it might be savoring this moment. It might be creating space to notice and absorb and really be mindful in this moment, right? Just taking in the full moment because we know so fast it's gone. And then we have this huge dip and this huge letdown. We always want to hold on to this joy. And the best way we can do that is by experiencing it. And so mindfulness is very important here. Maybe it is social sharing, needing opportunities to celebrate or just be in the space with others. It could be reinforcement. Maybe it's, recognition and validation of what brought the joy in the first place. So when we're looking at support strategies, just like we might need to help kiddos redirect excitement, maybe the adults, we can include times to pause and reflect on these joyful moments for kiddos, right? This could be done. I do a lot. This is really important, dropping into the body. We want kids to keep feeling in their body. That's going to help change their pathways, how good it feels. I mean, even just think of yourself, if you've ever had a really great workout, if you can really connect with how good it feels afterwards, that's going to help the next time it's cold, it's dark, you want to just keep sleeping. You're like, oh, no, I don't want to. If you can connect with that feeling of how good you felt in the body, it's going to help boost your motivation. So we want to make sure kids are actually having that opportunity too. So feeling it in the body. We can come back to that always. I always go there because that's going to help when, emotions are a little bit bigger and a little bit more unpleasant. We could also do things like journaling at the end of the day or in the moment. Maybe we're taking photos, we're sharing stories, maybe we're creating rituals to mark some of these joyful events. Maybe it's just simply naming what caused the joy, right? Just to reinforce that intrinsic motivation. But we really want to make sure we're marking the moment. That's helping strengthen positive reinforcing. It's helping strengthen memory encoding because remember, our brains are built to be anxious and depressed. And so the memories that we hold are usually the strongest unpleasant feelings. So we want to create more space in the brain for some of these positive things, especially if you've got kids who do always seem pessimistic or negative and they forget about their past positive experiences. This is really important. We can start building those pathways. Another really important one is pride. It's a great pro-social emotion too. We really want to develop. I talk about a few pro-social emotions, and pride is definitely one of them. Pride shows up again after achievement, mastery, maybe social acknowledgement. It really motivates kids for more effort, for striving for their goals, pro-social contribution. Pride also really signals status or identity development, which is so important for our kids at all stages. Emotionally, pride is really saying, I did something valuable and I want others to know, right? Or to share in this. So those underlying needs, it could be recognition, genuine acknowledgement of their effort or their success. I focus on effort because that's always more important. We don't have control over the outcomes. Maybe it's a reflection of, what it was that they did. How did they become successful there, right? Just internalizing that achievement and maybe learning from that. How can I do this again, right? And have more success again in the future. It could also be direction. Maybe they need support in aligning future goals with some of their strengths. Let's pull the strengths and the strategies that you've used here for other things that might be a little bit more challenging. So some of the support strategies that we could be offering as the adult is very descriptive praise that really emphasizes that effort, the effort that they put in and that growth that they put in. We're inviting kids maybe to document those proud moments, maybe in a journal, maybe give them a brag book. I think we're all so scared about bragging, and so many kids are so humble and kind of shove everything under the carpet because they don't want to brag, right? But we need to be able to brag or just celebrate those accomplishments. There's so many little stages that kids go through that we're never really acknowledging, and it just never feels good enough. And then we start having these perfectionists, right? So just small rituals or affirmations can be really helpful. So it's just celebrating. That helps build that intrinsic motivation and that confidence, which is really important. Curiosity, if you've heard me talk at any point, I'm always talking about how important curiosity is to really develop in our kids. It's antidote isn't the right word. Sometimes I say curiosity is the antidote to like anxiety, but it really helps us keep our prefrontal cortex online and regulate our emotions a little bit easier. It's really the key emotional response I'm always trying to focus on for when any big unpleasant emotions come up. But the function of curiosity drives exploration. It drives learning and discovery and problem solving. Don't we want all our kids to be doing these things? It motivates engagement, right? Engagement with their learning, engagement with the unknown or with anything new. It supports brain development and it supports adaptive growth. Again, all things that we want. Too many kids are scared of uncertainty. If I can't do it perfectly or I don't know how to do it, I'm not going to try at all. We want to get them curious. Curious kids, they might be touching, grabbing, disassembling things, exploring. They want to understand their surroundings. We want to really facilitate that. So, emotionally, curiosity is really saying, there is something new here. Let's figure it out. Unfortunately, a lot of adults, I see this a lot, might perceive those behaviors as destructive. Like if they're taking apart a computer or an iPad, I've definitely seen that, right? Or maybe they see these things as disruptive when they're trying to explore their environment when they're supposed to be sitting at their desk and listening, for example. But that's really problematic if we're shutting down this drive for learning. Just because it's not at the time, in place, we need to find ways that we can really cultivate this. So we have to think about what the needs are, right? So the needs for curiosity, it could include access, opportunities to explore, to ask lots of questions, to investigate. All of our old computers, we gave them to our girls to do with what they want, and they would take them apart and compare the different, computer boards and everything else. They thought it was fascinating. We had a whole section of our library shelves of just things that they could explore and do, and science experiments and those types of things. So we want to make sure we're creating that environment for them to explore. We want to make sure that we encourage them to follow their questions, to follow their wonderings. This is a problem with Google, isn't it? If they're like, I wonder where wind comes from. There isn't exploring and trying to think and outside the box and problem solve. It's just, hey, Google, where does wind come from? Right? That's unfortunate. That's a big problem with technology. So we want to make sure we're allowing them to follow those questions. Maybe we're scaffolding, we're helping them navigate any really complex, challenging situation, especially if curiosity starts to meet that frustration. So, example support strategies for us adults to nurture this curiosity. It's encouraging open ended questions like, I wonder. Anytime we went for a walk, I was always like, I wonder. Where do these pine cones come from? I wonder, why do watermelons grow on the ground and not in trees when other fruits grow in trees, right? We want to ask those questions or explorations. What do you think would happen if? Right? We want to make sure, and we can adapt it to whatever their age is. You could provide those open-ended materials like, STEM kits, art, go on nature walks, scavenger hunts, all of those kinds of things, and just really reinforce the process of questioning, not just the answer. It's about the questioning. Stop asking Google, start wondering more. We really want to reinforce that learning, reinforce that engagement through exploration and inquiry. So those are examples of some of those pleasant high energy emotions. Now, with the pleasant low energy emotions, they aren't as likely to get kids overstimulated like excitement can. And I can see kids getting so excited they go into silly and then it could turn into aggression, right? These pleasant low energy, they're more warm and cozy emotions. They help us rest, they help us connect, reflect, right? Kids might feel this when they're snuggling with a pet, if they're watching the sunset, maybe after a big test is over, just the whew. These emotions, they're calming, they're restorative, they're perfect for being able to practice things like mindfulness and dropping into the body or strengthening connection. A major strategy tip here, again, is to savor these moments. We got to slow down. We got to reflect. Maybe we're sharing them out loud. It just helps build that emotional awareness and reinforces regulation as well. And again, perfect opportunity to drop into the body, to build that emotional awareness, the emotional literacy. We're reinforcing the moment again and what feels good. Because a lot of the time, it's more of the maladaptive behaviors that we focus on that we're negatively reinforcing that makes the brain feel good. So we want to bring conscious awareness to these emotions as well. So if we were to start with contentment, that signals sufficiency, that our current needs are being met. There's no immediate change or action that's required. It's allowing the nervous system to downregulate. It's supporting recovery and rest. It gives us that mindful presence in the motion, in the moment. Emotionally, it says everything's okay as it is, right? There's nothing else that I need. That underlying needs could be rest. It could be time to linger in that satisfaction without any pressure to act. Reflection, an opportunity to integrate, just to enjoy the moment. All of those things are really important. Preservation, space to preserve this calm space and avoid the overstimulation. So important for our brain and our body. So strategies that we can be doing to help, support this contentment, it's practicing mindfulness, right? So watching nature, it could be quiet reading, it could just be encouraging slow unstructured time, right? Just enjoying the slow moments, pausing to name what's right in this moment, encouraging reflection on what feels good in this moment. We don't want to interrupt the moment. We don't want to give them new demands. We don't want to intensify, any stimulation. We want to make sure we're doing things to help them anchor that regulation and strengthen that mindfulness. Gratitude is another one. I just talked about pride as a major pro-social emotion that we want to make sure we're developing. Gratitude is the biggest pro-social emotion. Gratitude really enhances that social connection. It helps us increase our awareness of the beneficial experiences of relationships. It strengthens empathy, pro-social behaviors. It helps us shift our attention towards the positive, no matter what else is going on in our life. Emotionally, gratitude is really saying something or someone is really bringing added value to my life. And so the underlying needs here, that includes expression. How do we express that gratitude? A way to recognize and acknowledge the source of goodness. Connection, the opportunity to share or to reciprocate appreciation. Savoring, again, is so important. Time to linger in this emotional warmth, all very important. So some of the support strategies here could be reflecting or just sharing appreciation. Maybe it's through rituals, right? Maybe we're starting or ending the day with something that I'm thankful for, or something that I'm grateful for. Bedtime, I would say, is a great time to do this because we can bring whatever feelings we're bringing to bedtime carry with us through the night. So don't we want to bring the positive, like these pleasant, grateful feelings with us? That's really important. It could be writing in a gratitude journal every day or a thank you note each week. As a family or as a classroom, you can have gratitude circles or gratitude walls or gratitude thank you notes, whatever it is. We're just encouraging appreciation of others. And it doesn't matter if it's verbal or if it's written, or those little acts of kindness. Right? These acts of gratitude, it just reinforces a lot of that emotional regulation skills that we want. It fosters those pro-social behaviors. Relief is a big one. I don't think we talk a lot about other than when we're negatively reinforcing anxiety, like, whew, we dodged that bullet, right? But the function of relief is just that it marks the end of a threat or the end of some effort, like a test or some worry. It's helping us transition from activation to regulation, and it's just allowing us to integrate those stressful experiences. So relief is really important. Emotionally, it's saying the hard part is over, we're safe now. And ideally, there's relief and accomplishment, pride, right? So, needs here with the relief include acknowledgement, recognizing what it is that I just endured or what it is that I just released. I don't want relief from avoidance. That's not helpful. We're not really fulfilling a great need here. We're just reinforcing more avoidance, and they're never going to learn that pride and competence. So, we want to make sure the relief comes after something actually has been endured, right? So now we can restore ourselves. It's a pause to recover our energy. And there's reinforcement here too. So it's a sort of a positive closure and reflection on what it is that we've just learned or survived or endured. As long as they're not avoiding, we can really mark this moment of relief with like a celebration breath and just naming that release. So saying something out loud like, that was hard and I got through it. We want to celebrate and acknowledge that effort. Even the smallest of wins is really important. So that reinforces resilience and that emotional closure to even really hard situations. So we also want to make sure that we're building in time for rest and for down regulation after that effort as well. And relief helps with that. Calm, it really reflects the nervous system, in terms of regulation and safety. It facilitates our learning, our connection, our decision making, because there's less internal and external chaos when we're feeling calm. So, emotionally, calmness is saying you're safe, you're in control. Some of the needs here with calmness include safety, predictability, low stimulus environments, simplicity, right? Freedom from overwhelming demands, overwhelming presence, mindful presence. We need to have opportunities to engage slowly and attentively. So some of those supportive strategies that we can do as adults, we want to maintain quiet routines, minimal transitions, or we're supporting those transitions. It might be using calming sensory input, right? Weighted blankets proactively are helpful. We don't want to wait for a freak out. We just want to promote calmness proactively to lower their overall arousal levels in the first place. Soft lights, nature sounds, proactively, these can be really helpful. Definitely protecting downtime without screens, without other stressors. That's so important. We want to invite quiet reflection. Go outside, listen to soft music, just notice your breath, right? Just all of these things deepen regulation and interoceptive awareness when we're off of screens. Love is a really interesting one. It can be high energy. I know for me, love is like, oh my gosh, I just love you so much. I want to squish you. And so then it becomes that excitement, high energy, right? So when that cuteness aggression sort of comes in, I just want to squish whatever it is that I'm feeling a lot of love for in the moment. But the function of love, high energy, low energy, the function of love really fosters bonding, the safety, the social connection. It signals attachment. I belong. There's investment in others, an investment in me. It's motivating care and cooperation and long term sort of belonging and affiliation. Emotionally, love is really saying, I feel connected to you and I want to stay close. And I'm motivated to do whatever I need to do, to keep that connection, healthy connection going. So the needs here include connection, safe, consistent presence with others. It needs expression, opportunities to show and receive affection. It needs reciprocity, mutual sharing of care and belonging. All of those are really important. So, some of the strategies. It's really about encouraging them to express their affection or appreciation through words, like maybe saying, I love you or I care about you explicitly, but it can also be expressed with notes or drawings or little acts of kindness or just little things like holding or hugs, right? Whenever we're welcomed by others, by those types of things. Kids who hug or have really close physical contact, they can really build bonds quite well, and it provides a lot of comfort as well. So it could be acts of service. It could just be shared time that strengthens connection. We want to reinforce how it feels to be in connection. So those strategies really focus on building secure attachment and reciprocity. So these pleasant, low energy emotions are like the emotional rest stops along the ups and downs of everything that life throws us every day. They're really inviting us to be, to connect, to integrate, to slow down, right? And so when we're creating a space for these quieter emotional states, we're nurturing resilience, we're deepening relationships, we're giving kids a chance to reset, which is really important for emotion regulation. So lots to think about. I will leave it there for today. There's still lots more to go through. Next week, I will go through some of the unpleasant high energy. There's lots to talk about there. But thank you for joining me. If you found this helpful, share it with others. Go and rate me on this podcast on Apple Podcasts so other people can see it. Help those kiddos be bold and courageous, and I will see you next time.